what is next for you? Is it that pro move? I'm sure everybody's been asking you, or are you looking to
Yeah,
what's
so
going on, everybody? We're back with another super special guest. Today's guest is an amateur mixed martial arts fighter. He is currently the amateur featherweight champion for Art of War, a regional MMA promotion based out of Pennsylvania. Our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, Francis, the praying mantis Trivelli. Francis, first off, thanks so much for joining me today.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I want to get into is people watching this might wonder why there's a praying mantis as the background right now. For the people that don't know, your nickname for fighting is the praying mantis. Where does that come from?
So it's actually funny. My dad, you know the Biggie song? In the Biggie song, he says Francis the Praying Mantis. So my
Oh,
dad was like, "That should you should do that for your nickname." And for every time I hear it, I laugh. Like even when I'm getting ready to fight and I hear the announcers announce my name, I'm like, it's funny because I don't know. It just, but yeah, that's where it came from. It came from a song, and
oh,
my dad was
interesting.
like, "You should do it," and I was like, "All right." I don't have a nickname, so I'll do it. Might as well do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's just funny 'cause a lot of the fighters, have like a tough, like the pit bull or the
Yeah.
rampage or whatever. And you're just the praying mantis. I love that. I thought it might have came from like you're kind of lanky, like tall, long for the
Oh
weight,
wait.
kind of look like,
Yeah.
not look like it, but that body
I know
type.
what you mean. I know what you mean. I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
so that's super cool. But
Yeah.
just what first got you into combat sports, martial arts from the beginning?
So my uncle, you know Ricardo Miglioris?
Yeah, the name is familiar for sure.
Yeah, so he's my uncle. So I've been doing jujitsu since pretty much I was born. Like
Mm,
I was kind of born into jujitsu, like just training. I didn't really get serious about it until like high school, like
mm,
14, 15 is when I started going, like taking it serious, wanting to get into competition.
mm.
Um, but I've been doing it forever, for
Yeah,
as long as I can remember. I've been doing it on and off, and then really got serious about it like around high school.
yeah, yeah. And then when you when you did start taking it more seriously and you thought about competing, was it like, oh, just jujitsu, or did you know you want to fight back then too?
So like in the beginning, I was just fine with like doing jujitsu. The goal was to like open up a gym with my brothers when we obviously got older and were able to do that. But then around like my junior senior year in high school, I was like, you know what? I started getting into UFC around then because that was like around COVID, so that was the only thing that was on. And I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? Like, I don't know. I believe that I could do it. I believe that I can make it to the highest level that there is. So I was just like, yeah. I talked to my uncle about it. I was like, what do you think about it? And he just said, as if you train seriously and you take it serious, then we'll do it. So I was in the gym every day training. And then
Hmm.
once he felt like I was ready and I felt like I was ready, we scheduled that first fight. And it's funny
Yeah.
though, because like when like the week before when like I'm getting ready for the weigh-ins, I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. This
Hmm.
is horrible. And then right after the fight, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back in there.
When you are super young, you're only 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were first started kind of watching UFC and were into who were some of your guys or girls?
My boy is Charles Oliveira. That's my number
Hmm.
one dude. The
Okay.
jujitsu, just everything. That's my guy. I like Max Holloway, and I really like Sean O'Malley's style. Like when I
Hmm.
train and when I spar, like my striking, I try to take a lot of the things from his game because his feinting is like really good
Yeah.
and like the way he sets things up. So I try to take a lot from like what he does on the feet.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. When you win that featherweight amateur title, the initially, what did that moment mean for you? How special was that?
Um, it was not. It was definitely like I look at it as it's a really big accomplishment considering I just started fighting last September, so I've only been fighting for a year.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, my goal is to make it to the big stage, make it to the UFC. So it's a moment where I'm like, all right, that's cool, but
Hmm.
I'm ready to go on to the next, start working towards that pro debut, start working towards a belt in whatever promotion I'm fighting in, and then obviously looking to get on either the contender series or whatever way I find my way onto the UFC. That's the ultimate goal. But obviously, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I got and the chance I got to fight for the belt, especially only being 2-1 at the time and like not really having that experience and like a bunch of fights under my belt. But I knew I was ready for it. You know, my uncle knew I was ready for it. All my
Mhm.
coaches and teammates, they believed that I was ready for it, and so we took the opportunity and got it done.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. And then did you celebrate it all? I know, like we said, you're only 20, but did you celebrate after that
yeah,
first?
yeah. I think the next day was actually I want to say it was 299 UFC 299. So I think me and my friends, we got together and we watched that. I think it was 299. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this last fight, Art of War 37, October 4, you go in, defend that title for the first time. Just break down that fight itself. Like, is that kind of how you expected? And
Um,
what that look like for you?
so it was tough. It wasn't tougher than I thought it was going to be. I knew the guy was going to be tough. You know, he was
Mm-hmm.
34 years old, has I think 17 amateur fights, between kickboxing and MMA.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew he was going to have the experience. Um, I definitely, looking back, I would have probably pressed forward a little bit more than I did and
Mm-hmm.
more strategically because I felt like towards definitely in the second round, I was just kind of walking towards him with my chin down, like, all right, I'm gonna take a shot to give him a shot, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he was moving. I think I said it in the post, like when they interviewed me in the cage. He
Mm-hmm.
moved a lot more than I thought he would. Like I expected him to try to exchange a little bit more on the feet,
Okay.
but a lot of it was just like bouncing around, trying to follow him, which is how I spar. Like when I'm in the gym, that's how I train. I like to kind of pop people, move around, but then eventually try to bait them into a big shot. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was just like he was bouncing around and trying to pop me, but then never trying to set me up for anything big. So it was just like
Mm-hmm.
chasing the entire time. So then I knew like, "All right, I got to get this fight to the ground because the rounds were too close. I didn't think I was losing the exchanges on the feet, but I knew it was too close to leave to the judges. So I had to do
Yeah.
something extra. I wasn't happy, but I like throwing my hands as much as I have grappled my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I love throwing my hands. It's more entertaining for the fans, and it's just fun for me too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's probably tough to not like give into that and do the slugfest thing. How do you kind of
yeah,
manage staying patient and not giving into that?
I'm very. I don't know why I'm so composed,
Mm.
but I somehow, I just like in the corner. I'm like kind of like just working on my breathing, like focusing on it, and just like once I see my family and everybody who comes out to support me, and I see them in the crowd, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of like zones me in, and I'm
Mm.
like, all right, I know what I got to do, and it kind of just I work on, and especially when I'm training too, like. I'm not when I train, I go into it just kind of like I don't want to win every sparring session I'm in.
Right.
I just want to get better each and every time, like work on my feints one day, trying to set things up better. And I think that helps with when I actually get in the cage, I'm not so
Mm.
much like fighting off of instinct, but rather using what I'm practicing
Right.
in sparring.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's kind of a silly question, but like, how often or how many times do people usually like defend an amateur belt? Like, this will kind of segue into what's next for you, but like in general, the amateur belt thing. What do people do with that?
I've seen it vary. I know. I think the guy that fought before me, the Brendan Bohanna,
Mm.
he's been amateur for a while, so I know he defended it a couple times.
Yeah.
I think he defended the belt a couple times.
Mm.
Um, so it varies. A couple of the Johnny Garb, he fights out of my gym. I
Mm.
think he might have defended it maybe once,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then he had a lot of amateur fights, but I know like there's the ups and downs, and then he winded up fighting the number one dude in the region, beat him for the belt, and then was like, all right, I'm going pro, and
Mm.
that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
Like I'm prepared to defend the belt one, two more times, but once I see my name at the top of that rankings list and like
Mm.
I am the number one in the region, then it's
Yeah.
like, what really is there? I'm not going to defend the number one ranking in the region. I'm going to go pro. Like there's no need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then just, what is next for you? Is it that pro move? I'm sure everybody's been asking you, or are you looking to
Yeah. So right now I'm looking to fight in. I wanted to fight in November.
mm,
There's a Art of War card November 14th or 15th, I think.
yeah.
But my uncle is coaching Basil Hafez,
Yep.
so he won't be able to coach me. So then I'm
Oh.
like, okay. So I'm not. That's one thing I won't do is I'm not going to fight with a different corner.
Mm,
So December is most likely when I'm gonna fight again, and I'm gonna defend the belt one more time. Against who? I don't know. I'm looking to get that loss back. So I mean,
mm,
if that's who it is, then that's who I was supposed to fight.
mm,
In October, I was supposed to rematch um, my loss, but then it fell through. He hurt his knee or something. So then we got this fight,
mm,
which was two totally. I mean, talk about it was going from somebody who is mostly wrestling and like
mm,
striking is not really the greatest
mm.
to a dude whose striking is way better and grappling isn't really the greatest.
Yeah.
So it was like I'm getting ready for it. I'm like, all right, I got to defend these takedowns, defend the takedowns, and then it's
Mm.
like, oh, now I have to work on shooting the takedowns if striking isn't working.
Right.
So, but I'm looking for a December return against whoever. Doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
fight. I want to fight the best. You know, like in the beginning, I
Mm,
fought a dude who was like 0-1, and then like you fight these dudes because you're just trying to get into it.
mm.
But I'm at the point now where I want to fight the best possible people that I can fight in the region and
Yeah.
test myself. You know, a loss to me on the amateur, like on my amateur record, it doesn't matter. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's all experience. I want to know that when I go pro, I'm the best version of myself that I could possibly be at that moment. And I know when I do go pro, I'm not going to be the best fighter in the world,
Mm.
but I know I'm just going to be the best version of myself at that possible time and just continue to get better and better each time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it. And then that Art of War 37 card specifically was just littered with featherweights. I think like the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 fights were all featherweights. Now most of them pro. I'm not too familiar with like amateur scene, but what do you think of some of those guys right now at pro at that weight? You got main event Zedekiah and Christian Carr. I know he took a tough loss, but the guy he lost to Ricky, just so many
Yeah.
guys at featherweight in the area. What do you make of some of them?
Yeah, it's Art of War especially is tough in the featherweight division. Like you said, Christian Carr,
Yeah.
Zed, Cafaro,
Mm-hmm.
term a lot of these guys who have so much experience, and those a lot of the matchups, like it's funny because I'm kind of friends with a lot of the guys who are pros at the weight. So like to me, I don't really think of oh, I'm gonna fight them. Like I don't
Yeah.
look, but there are guys who I'm not really close with who I would, it'd be fun to fight. But at the end of the day, it's a sport where, you have to, you decide where you go with it. So I'm sure, like, I'm down to fight whoever, basically,
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm getting at. And whenever the opportunities arrive, there's a lot of high experience guys in Art of War. And I
Mm-hmm.
think all of those fights would be very entertaining. I feel like my style, I have a very entertaining style when I do fight. Most of my fights, if not all of them, have been very, very entertaining. And I'm constantly the one thing about when I fight is I'm looking for a finish constantly from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the first bell to the end of the last bell.
Yep.
So that style, I mean, yeah, it's gonna get me in trouble sometimes, but I mean, you're gonna go through some adversity, But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how I think Art of War though, their featherweight division is tough, so that's kind of where I want to stay right now because I know there's a lot of solid guys there, and so yeah, I'm excited. I can't
Yeah.
wait for it.
Yeah, for sure. But what else goes into that leap from amateur to pro? Like, are you gonna be dialing in your diet and stuff like that even more? I'm sure you're already doing a lot of that, but what's kind of goes into that next step, training and personally too?
Yeah, so I've been working on. I'm trying to get my weight up there because when you look at a lot of the UFC level featherweights, they're all walking around 165, 170, and
Yeah.
like this training camp was the first time I got up to 160,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it wasn't like a solid 160 because it
Mm-hmm.
fell off so fast. I got down to 155 in 2 days, and then the
Oh,
rest of it like kind of fell off pretty easily. Because I
mm-hmm.
usually weigh in like around 143.
Okay.
So I was thinking about going down to bantamweight, and like if I was going to go down to bantamweight, try an
Mhm.
amateur. But I
Yeah.
don't. There's just no way. I'm 5'11". I'm like I have no fat on me, so I just
Yeah.
don't think that a weight cut down to that would be possible.
Yep.
So since that's like kind of out of the question, I'm just trying to work on getting bigger muscle wise.
Mm-hmm.
Not being as skinny as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to bulk up a little bit, and I definitely have from my last fight to this one,
Sure.
100% put on size.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's my main goal for like getting ready to go to pro is just
Mm-hmm.
making sure that the weight cuts are more. I'm weighing in at 146 when I'm allowed to be 146 every time, and
Yeah.
not weighing in 3 pounds under the max that I could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. I mean, like you talked about bantamweight, like O'Malley's like probably that similar build as you, but makes bantamweight. And Aljo
Yeah,
talked
I
about
don't.
walking around at like 170 for bantamweight. I don't understand how these guys do it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to figure it out because
Yeah.
right now I have no idea what's going on with that. I have
Yeah.
no idea how they do it. I wish I knew because that would
Right.
make it a lot easier for me. And I try to ask all the like Tyler Berger. Do you see his
Yep.
fight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's got a good, nice weight cut going. I'm like asking him when we're at the gym. I'm like, dude, what do you do? This was the first time I water loaded, and I don't think I did it right at all because I just didn't. It wasn't. Yeah, no, I don't think I did it right. I weighed in like 45.4, so that
Mm.
was the heaviest I've weighed in ever. But I still am like, dude, how are you guys walking around at like 180, getting down to
Yeah.
150, and then shooting back up? That was my problem. The day of the fight, I might have weighed 154. Like I really
Mm.
didn't put much back on. So I want
Yeah.
to figure out how these guys go from 45 the night before to 60 the day of the fight and
Mm.
not feel like crap. Like
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah, and obviously at the top level they have like the PI and the best resources, but it's still crazy and got to be dangerous for them. But I just want to pivot, do some fun side questions. Like, if you had a dream training partner, anybody you can train with for the whole day or just one session, who would that be?
I would probably have to go
You mentioned
with
Charles. I
a
don't know if that would be
yeah.
your guy,
Charles
but
Oliveira would be fun. He's an absolute monster though. Sparring him does not look fun at
I was gonna
all.
say I hear he spars pretty crazy,
Yeah, sparring
100%.
him does not look fun.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Sean O'Malley because
Mm,
I feel like training with him, I'd be able to learn a lot of the stuff he does directly from him. Whereas now it's like I just watch all of his fights and then I
mm,
try to pick up on the little things that he does and see how I can implement it for myself.
yeah.
Again, not trying to like I'm not trying to be him. I'm not trying to take his style. I'm just trying to
Right.
take little bits of his game and
Yeah.
see if it works for me because I have that lankiness and range like you were saying earlier
Mm,
that I can utilize a lot of the stuff he does. I feel like, especially because at featherweight, there's not a lot of guys that are super tall and lanky like I am. It
mm.
just so happens that half of the people I fought were super lanky, and then half of them were like the size that I thought they'd be when I was fighting at this weight class.
UFC 308 is coming up. You mentioned Holloway. What's your prediction for that? I know that's your realm, featherweight. Elliot Taporia just finished
Yeah,
Volk and
that's
crazy
gonna
fast
be
Holloway. Who do you think?
that's gonna be a good one. I think Holloway looked really quick, but he was fighting up a weight class, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if his speed will be able to match Ilya's.
Right.
It goes to the ground. Ilya definitely has the edge, I
Yeah.
think, in the grappling. But man, that's gonna be a fun fight. That might be fight of the year already, and it didn't even
Yeah.
happen yet because that one's gonna be. Those are two of the most elite guys in any weight class, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys. It's one of those where I want Holloway to win. I think
Yeah,
gonna win. So I feel like that's how all my fight predictions go. Like I was kind of rooting for O'Malley. Marab got it
but you
done.
think the other guy's gonna win? Yeah,
Yeah, I know you said you're looking for to fight next, possibly December. Anything else coming up? Any training partners that want to shout out any events that they have going on or anything else?
Johnny Garb is fighting in November,
Mm-hmm.
so that's gonna be a fun one. And Tyler is fighting. Literally, when's October 26th? Is that like 2 weeks from now?
Oh, yeah, that's not this, or yeah, a couple Saturdays from now. Yep.
Yeah, he's fighting in Oregon against a champion of
He's
for his second amateur fight. So that's exciting for him.
oh
So
wow.
that should be cool. I wish I could go, but
Mm.
I'm not going all the way out to Oregon.
Where is that? I don't even know.
I have no idea what. I don't know the promotion. I don't know anything. We were getting ready for this past fight together, and then
Mm.
he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fighting again October 26th." I was like, "Dude, you didn't even get done this fight yet, and you already have another fight booked." But I'm like, "Good for you, dude. I wish I could do that. There's just not a lot in this area to where I could really be fighting like this week, and then 2 weeks from now I'm fighting, and then there's just not a
Mm.
lot going on,
Yeah.
especially out of Art of War. Like after October, November, December, they don't really have another thing until I I fought April. So
Mm.
that was the next one I think they had. They might have had one in March, but I'm not sure. But they don't have like a lot of things throughout the entire year. I feel like it's just like short periods of time where there'll be like 3 cards a big break.
Yeah.
3 cards, a big break. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
those are the only two that I could think that are fighting coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyler Berger, speaking of him, that's super exciting. He's another like good prospect to watch, that crazy decorated wrestling background.
Yeah, his
You
wrestling's
in there
insane.
and you like mixing it
His
up with him.
his wrestling, I that is like the one piece of the puzzle that I don't have is like the wrestling deep. I only wrestled in high school, so outside of that, I have no wrestling experience.
Right.
So being able to work with him, working on the just takedown defense or anything, just going live and sparring and getting those scrambles in with him, it's nobody in the region is anywhere near his level in wrestling.
Mhm.
So that for me is like a huge plus. Like I get to train with that almost every time I'm training. I get to work with the best wrestler in the region by far. Is the gym that I'm at, my uncle's gym, Balance Studios.
Mm.
We that's actually everyone. Pfeiffer, Petrowski,
Mhm.
Algio, they all trained at Balance before they like kind of branched out
Right.
to other gyms. But we do like a thing called Street Week at the beginning of every month, and
Mhm.
that's kind of when everybody just brings in their gloves and spars.
Yeah. I saw I think Pfeiffer was at that Art of War. I think I saw a picture of him there. Did you ever get to mix it up with him or Sabatini? Just got the victory. That was big.
No, I never trained with Sabatini. I don't think I've trained with Piper either. I wouldn't want
They're
to
big for
spar
sure.
with him. Yeah, I wouldn't want to spar with him. That probably he has the nickname Body Bags for a reason. I don't know if I want to get hit by that.
Yeah.
I'm a little guy. I'm 100 and I walk around like maybe 160. I'm not trying to get crushed by somebody
Yeah.
that big. Even 50% power with him would be like over 100% power with some of the guys at my weight. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, absolutely. That would be crazy. But yeah, I think that's all I have for you. Thank you for joining me. I can't wait to watch your journey. Hopefully you get that fight in December and I'll be locked in and tapped into your career.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.